Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Jammed Up with Jelly. I'm Jelly here with a very special guest today. She is the host of the podcast Holistic Connections, author of the books I Didn't Come This Far to Only Come This Far, and Behind the Masks, Gloves and Scrubs, One Nurse's Journey. She's also a certified hypnotherapist and the founder of Pamela's Pet Care, Pamela Topjian. How you doing?
Hello. Thank you for having me on.
Well, thank you for being here.
I'm also a former nurse. It's something I usually mention. I don't know why it's such a big part of my life, but that's something that I usually mention. I went from a nurse of 14 years to pet sitting. Yeah.
And it's definitely interesting. I forgot to mention the nurse thing. You said you stopped in 2020, I believe. But
I actually, my license was gonna lapse in 2021, so I just let it go. But in 2020 is kind of when I had my last nursing job. Yeah.
All right. Well, give me like a quick origin story of Pam.
Yeah. So, well, I grew up. I don't want to. This is more of a lighthearted podcast here, so I don't want to get too
I mean,
heavy.
it can
But
be anything. It can be anything.
okay. So I grew up in poverty and lots of childhood trauma in my life, and that led to trauma in my adulthood. And I had a big, major mental breakdown after two abusive marriages. And that's what prompted me then to write my book, or my first one anyway. So after that major mental breakdown, came to California from the Midwest and went through therapy. And during that therapy, I started journaling, so that's how I wrote that book. I didn't intend on publishing it at first, but it was a big part of my healing as well. And then from there, so I had been a nurse, at that time already at least 10 years or so, about that. And, even in the beginning of nursing, it wasn't what it was all cracked up to be. It wasn't what I was expecting it to be, and I was looking to do something different. But in 2019, I took hypnotherapy courses, which I had taken much earlier, like 2009, 2010, and I wasn't able to continue that because of or I was able to continue my course and complete that course, but I wasn't able to switch out of nursing into hypnotherapy. So then 2019, just before the pandemic, when nobody knew what was going to happen,
Oh yeah.
It's so weird to think, what were we doing just months before that big event? So I was taking hypnotherapy courses again to become certified again and start that. And that's what I did. And then luckily, my husband had a job that he was able to work from home from. So, he never missed any work during that pandemic or anything. So I was able to quit. I was able to quit nursing. And that was, then hypnotherapy really took off because, everybody needed something. And we could do it virtually. So it was really nice. And then I was 2021, 2022, people started, being allowed out again and flying places and stuff. And so pet sitting I was doing it on the side off and on really throughout my life. And it became more and more full-time. And so now I basically am a pet sitter, and I'm still writing. And like you said, I've got the podcast and YouTube channel and that. So that's what I do with most of my time now, and that's, I think, that's who I am now. And I feel like, I'm not really taking the hypnotherapy clients anymore, but I'm not completely. I'm just kind of seeing where it goes. Anything that from having a major mental breakdown and going through such a hard time in my nursing career. At this point in my life, I just kind of, anything that causes me too much stress or too much angst, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to find a way to do something different or get out of that. So my life is about just holding on to and protecting my peace, my inner peace. So that's where the, sort of dropping off of hypnotherapy and just going full-time pet sitting. And the podcast kind of came about by a accident, really. So I was, I had the YouTube channel, and I started taking guests on there just for, holistic practitioners and learning more about holistic practices, and, also having another place for them to sort of share what they do and introduce the public to these different practices. And people started calling it a podcast. So I was like, well, not really. I don't know, And so that made me think about how can I get it up on the podcast platform. So then I did that, and here we are.
Nice. Very interesting. One thing I was wondering is, like, I'm not exactly sure what exactly hypnotherapy is. It's not,
Okay.
swinging a watch in front of somebody's, face and telling them they're feeling sleepy, right?
Right, right. No, and that is actually, that's one way you can do it. That's sort of like an old-fashioned way that they first started doing it because they wanted to give somebody something to focus on. And if you know anything about EMDR, that's eye movement, EMDR, eye movement, desensitization, and reprocessing. And it's a type of therapy, but you move your eyes back and forth for EMDR. So it does something within your brain to bring about almost like an altered state of consciousness, not like anything that any drugs would do, but more of like that state between waking and sleeping, whether it's coming just waking up or just going to sleep. It helps to put you in that state of consciousness, and that's a place where you can go straight to your subconscious and not let your conscious mind interrupt you, or we all, so many people have trouble sleeping because they're like, I can't shut my mind off, or they have trouble meditating because they can't shut their mind off. They can't quiet the noise in their head. So that will sort of help bring that about. And then you can address whatever issues the person has. And depending on how deep it is, because you don't really know, like somebody who, it's really well known for quitting smoking and losing weight. So just sort of, I was going to say surface level things, but that's the thing. They're not surface level. Sometimes it has to do with childhood trauma or something that, that they have anxiety, and so they're eating a lot or not able to control their eating habits or smoking. So it depends on how deep it is, and you can find that out once you're in hypnotherapy. So it's very much like a guided meditation, really, because you have the hypnotherapist, which is kind of talking you into this relaxed state and talking you into, physically relaxing your body, but also not relaxing your mind like a guided meditation might do, but more of helping your mind to focus on whatever it is that we're, so it's a more, you relax the body so your mind can focus more on whatever the issue is and whatever kind of, positive suggestions that the hypnotherapist is telling you to replace those habits with, basically. So that's a very basic explanation.
It sounds almost like
And that's one of the things.
clearing the noise so you can hear better.
Yeah. And, one of the things that it has such a bad reputation because of the movies, there's a lot of movies and even some TV and, just a lot of, there's stage hypnosis, which is a completely different thing, and people are concerned about, losing control of their body or their mind or being made to say something or do something that they wouldn't normally do.
Bark like a dog, act like a chicken.
Right. So, it's really difficult to explain, and people kind of have to feel it for themselves to know. And that's part of the reason that I kind of decided to step away from it. Not only was, at first there was a lot of clients, and then it kind of got less and less. But with every new person, it's like you have to almost prove yourself, or you have to try to explain it, which is kind of hard to explain.
There's a lot of skeptics out there.
Yeah.
All right. So it seems like when you said you left nursing during 2020, that was a perfect time to leave nursing. It seems like that was when it got a lot harder for everybody, I feel like.
Yeah, it was already a terrible profession. It already had, many nurses were already burning out. It was just kind of part of the profession is just burning out. And, and that was me as well. Now, part of that did have to do with the marriages that I was in and stuff and other things in my life, but it also was the profession. There was a lot of things that are, unethical and even illegal that go on, and you're just so overworked. And I was working 16-hour shifts sometimes,
Oof, that's
and
brutal.
I've got arthritis in my hands, mainly from working those shifts that long, and all the things. So in 2020. And, I was already taking the classes of hypnotherapy, so I knew that I was going to be able to get out of it. But in 2020, we also had an issue with, so I was doing a pediatric home health, and one of the babies that I was caring for didn't have all the supplies that they needed for home health. And you're not supposed to even start on a home health, program or care plan unless they've got everything they need. But because of the way things were in 2020, it was like, yeah, that stuff is ordered. We know it's back ordered. It'll be there soon, and it wasn't. And, I felt like, man, this baby's gonna, I don't want this baby to pass away on my shift, And there were also a lot of things within that particular job, like my last nursing job before I completely quit. Um, there were also some things where, so the family was in an apartment. There was like 3 people in 1 bedroom. Not a big deal really, but there was another family that lived there too and kind of lived on the couch and slept
Oof.
around. And they were very, and I don't want to get political here, and it doesn't matter to me what anybody believes, but they didn't agree with the vaccinations or even wearing masks and stuff. And I'm in there sitting there wearing a mask because I was working overnight shifts. So I'm there wearing a mask in their living room while they're, coming and going as they please and not wearing a mask. And it, regardless of what they thought or believed, having a baby that was, less than 6 months old, so pretty much a newborn baby that didn't have its own space in the house, didn't have the medical supplies it needed, so they're going to take that risk. It just really bothered me.
Understandably.
So the baby, yeah, so that baby ended up going back in the hospital, and I knew it would. I thought it's either going to pass away or it's going to end up back in the hospital. And it did, and I told the agency that I was working for that, they were like, we'll try to get you something else until the baby comes back, or or whatever. And I said, I'm done. I'm not coming back. If this baby makes it out of the hospital, you can give this case to somebody else. And I was just super uncomfortable, and it was again illegal and unethical, just like so many other things and the other types of nursing jobs that I had. So that was the last one, yeah.
That's a pretty crazy story.
Mm-hmm.
So now you said you moved from the Midwest.
And so,
oh, you can continue, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, you said you moved from the Midwest to California. Did you grow up in the Midwest?
Yeah. Yeah, so I was born and raised in the suburbs of Chicago. And with my first marriage, I moved to the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. And after I divorced, I got married right away again. Big mistake. I always say that I jumped out of the frying pan and into the fire. It was much worse.
Oof.
But yeah. But so then I had moved with the second husband. I had moved to Missouri from Michigan, and so we were in Missouri, and we were married for 8 years. And I finally divorced him, and that's when I had the mental breakdown. So I was suicidal. I was very anxious. I was very fearful, and I didn't really understand why. So I was just also very confused, and I was living alone for the first time in, like, I think ever, really.
Yeah, you're probably so used to walking on eggshells for so long that you just have that
My whole
ingrained
life,
in you.
really.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So walking on eggshells, and I like to say, like, thinking with eggshells, like afraid of what the outcome's going to be if you say anything, how
Oh,
the
yeah.
response is going to come back to you. Yeah, so many people know how that feels. So my story is not by any means a unique one. So many people have been through a lot of the same situations that I have.
I mean, everybody's
But
story is
so,
unique, but I mean,
yeah.
there's a lot of people, unfortunately, in this kind of who's been in this kind of situation, still is and whatnot. But I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
what you've done with talking about it is definitely, I would say, in my opinion, a good, healthy way to deal with it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's why I say, writing it was part of the therapy. It was part of the healing journey for me, just writing it all out. But then I was reading other memoirs of other women who had been through similar situations and went on to do great things with their lives. They got through it and got out of it and went on to do, better things with their lives. And so then it made me feel like, oh, healing is possible, and oh, I'm not all alone. Then kind of made me feel like maybe my book would help people with that as well, to help people know that they're not alone in whatever they're going through, and that healing is possible. So not only was it healing for me, but also then publishing it was, is hopefully healing for others. And I have gotten some great feedback, that it was inspirational, and it helped people to realize that it can get better no matter what situation they're in. But I have the story of coming to California.
That's nice.
So,
Do you like Cali better than the Midwest?
oh yeah. It's so different, and I love it so much, and I don't think I'm ever leaving.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
totally different.
Whereabouts
Yeah.
in Cali, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, so I'm up near Sacramento.
That's northern Cali, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's considered northern. It's not way north, but it's considered northern, like, because it's north of San Francisco, and yeah,
Okay.
considered
I'm just
northern,
bad
but
at
it's not way up
geography.
there. Yeah, yeah. So, and
Sure.
Sacramento is the capital of California, so a lot of people know where Sacramento is. So
Got to be a solid hub
we're
there.
about like, yeah, yeah, and we're about 20 minutes from Sacramento, so pretty close. But
Nice.
so, were you gonna say something?
Oh no.
Yeah,
If
okay.
I mean,
um, so I was gonna tell the story about coming to California because it is kind of a funny one.
go for
So,
it.
I did have this, mental breakdown, as I said, and so I thought, or actually a friend was going to move to California who was kind of going through the same thing with a nasty divorce, and they were thinking of going to California because they had friends out here who said, hey, you can come stay with us, get a fresh start, and maybe, just start over, move far away, maybe that's what you need. So my friend said that to me, except for I wasn't going to be able to stay with them, but, maybe you need to move far away and just get a fresh start, because part of what I thought I was fearful of was I thought that my ex-husband would find out where I was. So I had a restraining order. I had already divorced and moved out, and he didn't know where I had moved. But I was just worried anytime, just going to the store or anything, too. I was just worried that he was going to find me.
Yeah.
I thought that was the big thing. So I ended up, so I told my landlord, I said, I might be moving. I might have to break the lease. I might be moving out of state. Just wanted to give you a heads up. And then I thought, well, I'll tell them first, see if it's possible, and then I'll look into how to do this. And once I said that to them, I was on the phone, and she said, well, we were thinking of selling the house. Can you be out in 2 weeks? So, so it was like, okay, well, I guess I'm doing this, I said, I'll try.
You got pushed into running quick.
Yeah, yeah. So luckily, this was just like a small little house, and just a couple owned it, so they owned a few houses on the block, whatever. It wasn't like a management company that I was dealing with, you know. So, so I got rid of everything, sold things, not everything, most everything. You know, I had like 2
Non-essentials.
suitcases left. Yeah, yeah. And and I ended up getting on a bus. I got on a Greyhound bus with a one-way ticket to California. And before I came here, though, I was looking online for, you know, like live-in jobs, anything that I can do where, you know, the rent would be part of whatever I was doing.
Yeah.
And having that nursing background, there was some like caregiver jobs, as well as like pet sitting and house sitting for people who had, you know, a few different houses in that, or people that went away for part of the year and stuff. So I did those kinds of things, had something lined up and came here. But I got on the bus, and so I'm still in this mode of, you know, still very fearful. This was my last ditch effort, you know.
The fog hadn't cleared
yet. I was
yet.
still highly anxious. Yeah, yeah. And I was just numb. And I was 50 at this point, so I was numb and I was alone.
It's like that scene from Saving Private Ryan. You just hear the the high pitched noise. You see people picking up their arms. You're like, oh, I got to get out of here.
Yeah, yeah, it was crazy. So, and I didn't realize how crazy it was until afterwards. But but so the first, you know, I get on there. The first place I sit down. So like I said, it was a 3-day ride. So the first place I get on there, some man sits next to me. He's all disheveled. He's got a water bottle. He looks like a, you know, unhoused person is how he looks. But, you know, I didn't think too much of it. And he's just jabbing away, talking to me. And I'm like, ugh, you know. Like I can't listen to this. So I wasn't mean to him or anything, but I just was like not engaging. So I just would nod or something, you know.
Yep.
So we are almost to our first break, our first stop, and he spilled his water bottle on my seat. And I jumped up real quick, stood up, and he starts trying to wipe off my bottom with his hand. And I think he had a bandana or something. He was trying to use that as well and to clean up my seat. And I could tell then that it wasn't water in his water bottle.
No, some vodka.
He had just spilled some alcohol all over my seat, and I was wearing jeans, so it just soaked up into my jeans.
Oh, it gets cold too.
Well, this was the end of June, so it wasn't cold, but but I was just like, really, you know, I'm not religious, but it was like, really, God, me, all people, he had to sit next to me. I'm trying to get out of this bad situation, and here this happens to me. So
it's just getting dealt a bad hand of poker.
You know, it was just crazy. So luckily we stop, and beforehand the bus driver had said, you know, nobody can go get their suitcase from under the bus until you're at your final destination. But here I am, the first day of a 3-day ride with alcohol all over my jeans. So I asked the bus driver, you know, if I could possibly get some new clothes, and showed him what happened. And luckily he let me, but I threw those jeans away. I got some new clothes and threw those jeans away. I didn't want to put them back in my suitcase.
Yeah.
And and he kicked that guy off too, so that was good.
Yeah.
But that was almost like the first time that I like stood up for myself. You know, it felt kind of good to be like, well, I mean, I divorced my husbands and that. They were both abusive in their own ways. But I was still very, you know, didn't have any confidence and stuff like that. So, so, you know, he was kicked off, and everything went well from there.
Yeah, that is the bus, especially going cross country. I feel like a bus is littered with the randomest kind of people. It's a
Yeah, very
real
interesting people.
wild card situation.
Yeah. Yeah, so many people were worried for me. Like I said, I was 50, alone, um, and I was just numb. It's like I didn't really care. I was already suicidal and I was just holding on. So, my sister was killed in a car accident when she was 18 and I was 14. And so what held me on was I didn't want my mother to have to lose another child. So that's what kind of kept me from going through with those plans. And getting on the bus was like, I was at a point wasn't worried about my safety, didn't care what happened to me. If something else happened to me, it wasn't me doing it, as far as, if my mother lost another child or something. But I mean, everything was fine. But I did sit up near in the front at first, near the bus driver. So it,
Just for extra
kind
safety.
of, yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
All right, how about this? What kind of special skills or talents you got? Besides all the hypnotherapy and nursing, what kind of like special skills or talents?
Well, I do believe that I do have a special gift for taking care of animals, but I have started to, when I quit nursing, I had started painting, and I don't think that I'm not that great or anything, but people have bought some of my paintings, so they're not too terrible,
Oh,
I guess.
impressive.
I haven't done it in a while, but I feel like that's something that it was a hidden talent. I was like 54 or something. In my mid 50s, I had never painted anything but a wall in my life. And I just have always admired art and admired artists, and I just never really tried or thought I could. And I just thought, well, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to try it. I wanted to do something that was more creative to get some creative juices flowing rather than like that nurse logical mind that you're in. And, to kind of get me out of any kind of overthinking as well, because anytime you're doing something that you can focus on just that, whether it's some sort of art or dance or singing or anything that you're doing that you can really focus in on, or even just reading a book, that you really enjoy, you're not thinking of anything else. You're just hyper focused on that one thing, and that's what painting was for me.
That's great. Yeah, and I can relate. I'm a bit of a musician, and back in the day, playing drums in a band. When you start, yeah, it doesn't matter if you're nervous, this and that. When you start doing your thing, everything else fades away.
Yeah, yeah. So you're
It's
just focused on that one thing, and your mind isn't wandering. Yeah.
Yep, it goes into like almost muscle memory. It just all like autopilot just goes. This is what we're doing.
Right, right. Yeah,
And
that's
I
great.
assume
Yeah,
that's
same thing, exactly.
similar with the hypnotherapy. It kind of clears the noise around so you can actually hear or focus better.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what it mainly is, it goes straight to your subconscious. We can quiet the noise in your mind so you can focus on whatever the thing is that you want to change. And really, when we're doing that, we're not, say you want to lose weight, we're not focused on just the food or just what the problem is, or the um, cravings or whatever. We're not focusing just on that. We're focusing on where you want to be. So it's more forward, future focused than it is on like a lot of counseling and regular, psychotherapies. There's a lot of focus on the past. So even though sometimes we get to a scenario where somebody had some childhood experience that really shaped them and they don't even really remember that in their conscious mind, but sometimes that will come up because that needs to be cleared away before they can get to the place that they want to be.
Hmm.
But mostly it's like focused on the future, what you're going to do now instead of that.
I'm picturing for some reason in your mind just a smoke grenade going off, and you can see where you need to get to, and that's gonna help clear you a path.
Yeah, yeah, it makes you realize that it's possible. So I think that a lot of times people have tried so many things. A lot of times when they come to hypnotherapy or any other kind of like alternative, not so traditional or typical, I should say, therapies, they've already tried so many of the other more typical types of treatments and therapies and methods. And now they're at a point where they don't even believe that it's possible, and they're just trying whatever it is, if it's hypnotherapy or whatever else, as like a last-ditch effort. So a lot of times it's, we have to clear that away and show them, let them have a vision in their mind of, being, a healthy weight and, making these healthy habits part of their daily life.
Yeah, it's definitely, it does seem like it's oriented towards the outcome. Like, that's what you got to focus on, is outcome. I mean, you do need to worry about the input or output. Oh, boy. We're getting an interrupter here. I'm sorry about this.
Mm-hmm.
But, let's get back to that. How about this? So you said you're 59. That means, what was that, 70-something? Born in 70-something?
Born in 66.
66. Okay, I'm terrible at math, if you can tell.
That's okay.
But what was your first concert that you ever went to?
Yeah, my first concert, I believe it was one that, so my mother's friend, or somebody at my mother's work had won tickets, and it was David Lee Roth. They won tickets, and they didn't want them or couldn't use them, and so my mom said, hey, I'll drive you there, and it was 2 tickets, so my friend went with me, and we went to David Lee Roth, and we were pretty young. Trying to think what year that was. It was in the 70s, so I was like a kid, man. I was like 12 or 13, I think.
Damn, that's pretty cool. So
yeah.
So you listen to, I assume in 66 you were raised on classic rock, basically?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, well, there was a couple of
years.
Yeah,
I'm not a big music person.
No.
But I did go to, so at that time when I was a teenager, I was really into Aerosmith, and I went to a lot of Aerosmith concerts. Anyone that I could go to, I went to. I went to, I actually saw people who are into music like this, but but for me it wasn't a big deal. But I saw, what's his name, Stevie Ray Vaughan on his last tour before he died.
Oh, wow, that's awesome. Well, I mean, seeing him is awesome.
Yeah. And so the last concert that I went to, I believe was, meaning, I haven't been to one since. I believe it was B.B. King, and he had, what are they? Is it, it's not Blues Traveler, it's who I always think, but the guy who used to be overweight, and he would wear his harmonicas like a bullet thing on his vest.
That sounds like Blues Traveler.
Maybe that is who that is. But it was some
John Popper.
Blues. I think that is who that is. Yeah. But we were going for B.B. King, who of course sat there in his chair with a microphone.
Sweated heavily.
Yeah. And then he had, so Blues Traveler wasn't really well known back then, so I'm not sure. I'd have to check the dates and stuff to see who that was, but I'm pretty sure that's who that was.
Yeah, because I think they were hitting it off around the late 90s. I don't know when they started, but I know they got really famous and started getting picked up by like TV shows in the 90s.
Yeah, so this was the 90s, and I'm trying to think, it was mid 90s somewhere. Yeah, and that was in Michigan. Yeah, and that was the last one I ever went to. And the one before that was Jethro Tull, and that was 92, wow. I believe.
Yeah, that's some good.
I'm not real into music, but I've been to a lot of concerts. Yeah.
You've seen some good musicians, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad to have had those experiences, even though, like I said, I'm not that into music right now, but I'm glad to have had those experiences for sure.
No, definitely, especially because most of the 2 of those musicians have passed already.
Yeah.
It's a hell of a thing looking back, how many musicians I'm like, damn, I wish I saw them.
Yeah.
It's terrible. But
Yeah.
what about this? What about TV shows or movies? Have you been binging on anything lately?
So I'm kind of into true crime. So I don't really have a TV in the traditional sense. I use my laptop and I'm
Yeah.
on YouTube more than anything. Um, so when I'm pet sitting, I sometimes will watch Netflix or whatever they have. But I'm more into true crime than anything, and on YouTube. And so some of the more recent cases, I don't know if you're into true crime at all, but
A little bit.
been
I
following a
watched
few
some
of
of
the cases.
these. I was gonna
There's
ask. I was gonna ask too, like what your YouTube algorithm's like, but I think you're answering that right now.
Yeah, yeah, a lot of true crime mostly, and stuff that I don't want to see. So like I'm not following the Diddy case, and so that comes across a lot just because it's crime and it's court stuff. So
Yep.
you know, but yeah, yeah. There's Gavin Fish is a true crime YouTuber, and there's Court TV, and let's see, like Mike O, I think he's called, and he's from, I think England or something. So he's got that heavy accent. So those people cover true crime that I watch, and trying to think. Um,
Yeah.
oh yeah, there's yeah,
I was saying I like a
there's a
lot of like
report.
the 411 missing people's cases and all
Mm,
the people who like
yeah,
the internet sleuths who figure out all this. Oh, this is this person, and we saw them
yeah.
here. They start tracking them down.
Yeah, yeah, it's amazing, and there's some too that people don't ever find, and there's some cases that are so odd that like you can't help but to think, something really supernatural happened. And I don't know how you feel about that, but I mean, I think it's possible.
Oh, 100%. Like, I forget, I really don't remember what the case was, but it was like this little boy. He was like 5 or 6 or maybe 7. And he was found within like a couple hours, so many miles away where it made no sense. He physically couldn't have traveled
Yeah,
that far in the middle of the woods. And it's like,
yeah,
how did he just show up like, 30 miles away in 20 minutes kind of thing? It's like, what?
right. Right, with no kind of like evidence of like he grabbed onto a tiger or something,
Yeah.
or grabbed onto some animal that could take him there,
Some
or
real
any
life Jungle
bites on
Books.
him that something would have picked. Right, right, right. Yeah, and I think I know who you're talking about too, because didn't that little boy? I'm not good with the names either, especially past cases, but wasn't that little boy? Didn't they show a picture of him, and didn't he look like he was in shock? Didn't he have little red hair
I
and
think they
he
had a
had on
picture
the
of him when he was
bandage?
found, and like he was wet too, because like
Yeah.
he was, or he wasn't wet, but he had to like go over a river or something like that. It was like there's no
Crazy.
way he
Yeah.
could have gotten across this thing without getting wet,
Yeah.
but somehow he was dry. It's like none of this makes sense.
Right. Right. So there's got to be something. Yeah. And a lot of the like the national forests that aren't really um, they're not really part of the same legal system as the not national forest, right? And so a lot of people get lost in those places and they're never found, and they don't do a whole lot about it other than search, and that's it, because what else can they do? There's not as much big investigation around those national forests. But like, so the cases now that I've been following, there's, speaking of missing people and missing children, there's those missing children in Canada. Their names are Lily and Jack Sullivan, and it's been like 6 weeks now. But that's kind of another case. It's like, what the heck happened? They had cadaver dogs and stuff and everything out by their house, and and in the woods. So it's not like the family did anything to them and hid their bodies or something, or it's not. There's no. They're really like out in the middle of the woods, so they couldn't have gone too far just on foot by themselves. And there was people searching like crazy. And too, like I said, the cadaver dogs would have found them if they died out there too.
Yeah.
There's no evidence of an abduction or anything either. So yeah, it's just crazy. Um, yeah, and then there's the Lori Vallow case, which is done, I believe. And then before that, there was the Sarah Boone case where she was drunk and she locked her boyfriend in a suitcase and he died overnight.
Oh yeah, I remember that
I mean,
one.
it's not funny that he died, but it was just such a crazy
Wasn't she
circumstance.
on like video, like recording him being like, "Yeah, you piece of shit"?
Yeah, yeah. And the thing is, she went to the police, so they took her phone that day, and she went to the police the next day thinking she was coming to pick up her phone. She didn't even remember that she had that video on her phone. She was slurring her words and everything and like pointing it at the suitcase, and you could see him like trying to push out of there, and he's going, Sarah,
Yep.
Sarah, I can't breathe. And she's like, yeah, she's like, for all the things you did to me, fuck you. You know, she was just like so out of it, and she didn't even remember recording that. So she just thought, I'm going to come pick up my phone and leave. And
Yeah, what about the lady in the water tank of that hotel?
oh my gosh, yeah.
She,
Oh, that's an old one,
like
but yeah.
the
Oh my
elevator
gosh.
footage of her like just acting really weird made no sense.
Oh, right. So scary. So weird. Yeah, that's another thing. Like, what the heck?
Yeah, she
You know,
got possessed.
with yeah, 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 absolutely something. So weird. Ugh,
That and then
so scary to think that.
one of the ones I like is I don't know if you ever looked into the M Cave mystery or conspiracy thing.
No, no.
Mike Veach, I
Is it
think his
M?
name was M Cave, like the letter.
Okay.
Some dude used to
Oh, I
go, yeah,
did.
he used to go like exploring
I
the
did hear
desert,
that one.
found some like cave that made him like vibrate his head or something, and he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go find that," but then it was covered up.
Yeah, yeah, and he would like set his phone, or even, I don't know if he had a camera, he would set it like on a, on a whatever they call it. And then he'd walk far away, and like you could see him walking far, and then he'd like turn it off and, do it again. So it was like you were hiking along with him. So he did a lot of those, and then then he found this cave
Because
and
it was near
went to
Area
go.
51. It was somewhere up there, and I think Nevada or
Mm,
New Mexico, right? Yeah, New Mexico.
yeah. Wow.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Uh,
barely remember that one.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's
Do you
another
like
weird
getting
one.
into conspiracy theories?
Well, maybe somewhat. I mean, my son is really into conspiracy theories. The thing about that is it's just like so almost like, we'll never know. So the biggest conspiracy theory that I believe is that the healthcare system is, really trying to keep us sick.
Oh, yeah, because
That's my
you make money
conspiracy
in
theory.
treating, not curing.
Right. Right. There's no money in healthy people.
Nope.
And then they keep people alive forever too. Like you've got these 90 people in their 90s, who just, are we going to give them another operation for something? Are we going to give them more medication for something when they're not even, really living their life? It's about quality of life, not just keeping
Quantity.
them alive to breathe one more day. It's ridiculous. And at the same time, then the bills are just piling up for the family or for that person's estate, whatever they left behind, that then their children or their grandchildren won't get that because it's all being put into the medical field. And yeah, it's just, everything that you hear about when there's these organizations that want to, oh, we're going to cure cancer, or we're trying to find the cure for this or the cure for that. What about prevention? Maybe we
Yeah.
should talk about prevention, not the cure. I mean, it's good we need to have the cure, but I never hear talking about prevention.
True. I mean, I feel like everything, everywhere nowadays is unhealthy in some form. I mean, I don't know how
Yeah.
much we can do to
It's
prevent most of it, but there's got to be some methods to prevent some of it.
Yeah, yeah, it's so hard. I mean, you can drive yourself crazy trying to do everything extremely healthy. I feel like I live a pretty healthy lifestyle, but I can't completely avoid plastics. I can't completely avoid, you know, I don't know. It's just like, I don't need to read every, even the stuff like the lotion or shampoo or, not, you can
Yeah.
read your labels for your food, but what about what you're cooking it in? And, just
Yep.
so much comes out. And even like your clothing, it's like, is there chemicals in there that you shouldn't be having against your skin for that many hours a day? And it's just so much that it's hard to try to, you know, you don't want to drive yourself crazy being worried about what all this stuff is doing to you.
Yeah, like on our nonstick pans, they use Teflon. I heard in most of the European
Hmm.
countries they don't have Teflon pans. They use stainless steel, cast iron, and like the other
Right,
stuff.
right.
Because it's
Yeah, and a lot of the dyes that they have in the food, and especially like the kids' treats and stuff, they're banned in other countries.
yep.
Yeah.
We want our food to look pretty and taste exorbitant.
Yeah.
It's called America.
Yeah. Right, right. Exactly.
Yeah, well, speaking of food, if you were to have a last meal, you're on death row. You have a last meal. You get an appetizer, entree, dessert, and a beverage. What are you going with?
Um, oh gosh. So I'm not, I'm vegan,
Okay.
and so and I'm also not somebody that's very like I'm not like, oh, I want to try that new restaurant or that new dish. So my go-to meal that I just love is mashed potatoes and peas.
Some classic.
I like a good pizza, but with vegan cheese, but it's still not as good as like a good, baked potato. So, I know I'm not very interesting when it comes to the the last meal question,
Hey, I had a baked
but
potato today. Hopefully, it's not my last meal.
but I love it. I just love it so much.
Oh yeah.
It's so satisfying.
Or
It's
as
so
I
good.
believe in the UK they call them shuttle potatoes or something like that.
Oh, do they? I don't even know.
Something weird.
Yeah.
So you're having mashed potatoes and peas, no dessert?
Um, Probably a good piece of apple pie.
Ooh, all
Yeah.
right. Classic. Now, are you one of those heathens who will put a slice of cheddar cheese on it?
No, because vegans don't eat cheese,
Oh, true,
and the
true.
vegan cheese is not very good. But no, I've never put cheese on my apple pie.
Besides the veganism thing, how do you feel about those people?
About those people, vegans,
No, cheese on a
or those
piece
people
of
put cheese
apple
on
pie. That just doesn't make sense
just
to me.
different areas, people do different things. I don't know. I don't think too much of it. Like here, in California, people dip everything in ranch dressing. I don't know. I would never
Yeah.
put ranch dressing on my fries or my pizza like they do here. And they probably do in other places too, but just
They do in mass.
yeah. Do they? Yeah.
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 I mean, don't get me
It
wrong.
just seems weird to
Ranch on a
me.
little something here and there is okay, but come on. Uh, all right. How about we're gonna end it off with a question of name something that pisses you off. Like, what's something that just absolutely pisses you off? It could be something even unreasonable. Like, for example, for me, the wind. The wind pisses me off. Just blows my hair around.
Yeah.
It's annoying sometimes. I fucking hate it.
Yeah. It is annoying sometimes. It also feels good sometimes.
It does, but
So one thing that I think we connected on Reddit. So something that really makes me madder than it should is men in the DMs just hi or hey or hey. It's just like really.
what am I gonna do with
What you
that?
got? Yeah. Do you really expect me to answer you? Just really, it makes me madder than it should. I should just laugh at it and ignore it. But it depends on my mood, so I will check their profile and see what they're all about before I even answer. Usually I don't answer. But once in a while, I'll be like, if they're new to Reddit, I'll be like, this isn't the best use of Reddit.
Yeah.
Just give them their motherly lecture, if it's somebody new to Reddit, and usually they're much younger than me. And I have in my profile, not everybody does, but I have in my profile my age and that I'm married and a little bit about me. Not everybody does that, but it's like, what made you, are you responding to something I posted or replied to, or you got something? What made you do this? What made you put hey in my DM? It just
Yeah.
makes me like, yeah. So it's just something kind of stupidly annoying.
Yeah, the internet scape can be a little oddly toxic.
Yeah, and I know too, like you were saying, you being 30, you remember dial-up and stuff, and, I'm almost 60, so, I know that it's a different experience for me.
Oh yeah, I mean, I remember back in the day that's just getting yelled at by my grandmother, being like, "I'm expecting a call from my sister. Get off the fucking computer."
Right.
It's like I'm trying to
Yeah.
play flash games. Leave me alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man. All right, and like I said, before we leave off, do you have any piece of advice to leave everybody with?
Yeah, so, to get a little more serious, I want people to know that whatever they're going through, that there is always hope. Whatever, it's not too late, however old you are, it's not too late to get yourself out of a bad situation. And you don't even have to know how. You just have to change your mindset to know that it's possible. So holding on to hope, knowing that it's possible to heal, knowing that it's possible to have a better life. I mean, I would have never, ever, ever thought I'd be living the life I am today. I have given up, and I was 50 already. So, here I am near 60 and living a life that I love. And so it's possible. So I want people to know that.
That's fantastic. And that's great. I'm glad to hear that everything that you've been through has made you stronger and you've gotten through to the light. Because again, there's all that noise and fogginess that needs to be cleared out for you to actually get to that light at the end.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you.
But fantastic to hear. Do you want to throw your social medias out there for everybody?
Sure. So Instagram, it's innerjourney.pamelatopjian. And I have a link tree that has all my links. I'm kind of on Blue Sky and kind of on Twitter, and those are in there. The link tree is just my name, so it's, link er.ee and then slash Pamela Topjian. And that has the link for my books. It has the links for my podcast, which is on most podcast platforms. And then my YouTube channel is just my name, and that's Pamela Topjian. But yeah, thank you.
All right, and you guys will be able to find that all in the description of the video. Thank you all the people for watching. Keep checking in, and also you can be a guest in this pod if you ever want to. Just hit me up and we'll work something out. Again,
Great.
thank you all for watching, listening, and hope you have a great day.